Less than 100 days since taking office, President Donald Trump is making his mark on the world stage. First with the U.S. airstrike in Syria in response to the chemical attack, and then yesterday with the massive bomb dropped in Afghanistan, killing 36 ISIS militants. Meanwhile, the world is watching North Korea amid growing concerns that it may be closer than ever to launching a sixth nuclear test. This comes as the country prepares for what it's calling a big event to mark the anniversary of its founder's birthday on Saturday. Charles KRAUTHAMMER shares his thoughts on how the president is handling all of these international challenges.
I think this is reassuring that we are returning to the classic American definition where we include our allies and, the most important, we accept world leadership in a way that had not been accepted by Obama and seemed to be not accepted by Trump, the candidate.
General Jack King agrees with the commander-in-chief's military strategy.
This is another step in the right direction. What President Trump has done since January 20 is given to his commanders in areas where we are conducting conflict operations, given them the authority to conduct strikes as they see fit, to move forces as they see fit, and not to ask the White House for permission. The micromanaging of the military is over. The commanders feel very good about their ability, their freedom of action, and as a result of that, our operations will definitely be more effective.
Mike Morrell, who was with the Obama administration, had this to say earlier.
We have a new president, and Kim Jong-un is trying to challenge him, is trying to get him back to the negotiating table. Remember, Barack Obama ignored the North Koreans for 8 years, did not run to the negotiating table every time there was a provocation. Kim Jong-un wants to get back to a situation where we give them gifts when they do something bad. And then we are also making it worse, right, with our bluster and by sending aircraft carriers in there. We're raising the crisis. It's best to just ignore this guy and to deter him from ever using these weapons or selling them and to build our defenses.
So it's impossible to know if North Korea will actually go through with this tomorrow, but they have in the past, and this is a big anniversary. I don't know if they're going to feel like they're pressed into doing it now. Eric, what do you think?
I wholeheartedly push back against Mike Morrell on that. I don't think we sent the Vincent in the area in the event that they do test the nuclear, test the missile, let's put it that way. Testing a missile, I think it's pretty widespread agreement that that won't incite us attacking North Korea. No. But if there's a loaded warhead, a nuclear warhead, either aimed at Seoul, South Korea is 35 miles away. Yep. Either aimed at Seoul or, an area where our troops are, or Japan, Tokyo, which it can reach, or possibly the west coast of the United States, which I'm not sure, but maybe it can. I will tell you that would be the impetus behind a preemptive strike or a retaliatory strike, not a test. And this scares me because we're all talking, every cable news and regular news host and opinion people are talking about, oh, yeah, but if he doesn't test the missile, so it's going to be okay. We're almost giving him the green light to go ahead and test on the 105th anniversary of the grandfather of the founding of the country. It's very scary. The Vincent's there for nuclear response, though.
And we're dealing with somebody, Kimberly, who's not rational.
No, he's not. He is the textbook definition of, unstable, mentally challenged. And this is somebody who wants to provoke the United States and poke the cage. And what we saw was for 8 years that President Barack Obama put ideology ahead of national security as it relates to North Korea. And this man, I don't think the answer, as Morrell says, is to ignore him. We're in the position we're in because we tried to ignore Syria, we tried to ignore North Korea, and now what we see operating at a disadvantage tactically and having to jump back in the game to secure and stabilize those regions. We're going to have to wait and see what he says. I think we're almost giving this guy too much power by saying, well, we're going to wait and we're going to see what you're going to do. And I agree with you, Eric, then it's almost encouraging and inviting, well, if he shoots one off, maybe it's not that bad if it's not chemically armed.
And he looks good to his people.
Right.
He's safe.
He looks like the boss man.
Yeah. All right, well, it's got to be nuclear first. But again, can I just clarify? The Vincent is there for response, but not to a test to an actual, loaded warhead, nuclear warhead aimed at one of our allies or us.
What do you think will happen this weekend, Juan?
Well, I mean, there's no way to know. You just hope that it won't. I mean, clearly they have used this occasion in the past to test weapons and to make a show of their military might in order to, I guess, reassure their people that they are, in fact, a world power and deserve such respect. I must say that reminds me a lot of what Putin's been doing with Russia for the last couple of years. But anyway, The problem is from the Chinese perspective. Remember, all week long we've been talking about, oh, President Trump made friends with President Xi, and now China's going to help him with the North Korean problem. But today, what are the Chinese saying? Oh, it's the United States, according to their official news agency, according to their foreign minister, that's engaged in a game of tit for tat with the North Koreans. So they put us on a level with this guy that you describe as not exactly mentally well, and say that, you know, we're playing games by sending in the naval people, by making provocative, loud, belligerent statements. I guess they're talking about Trump there. That, in fact, are encouraging bad behavior. And that's what I think Mike Morrell was saying, that if you want to get into a situation where you're saying, oh, yeah, North Korea, do this or don't do that, then you start, and this is the pattern of behavior that we've seen from past administrations, you try to offer them something to behave better, and it never works out.
Well, but couldn't it be that what the Chinese are saying and what they are doing are two different things? So they use those words in their country through their news agency, then maybe they deal with that in their region, but they did abstain from voting at the United Nations this week on Syria, and they did turn back the coal, and they have pushed a little bit more pressure on North Korea. What do you think?
I hold concern. I mean, I'm optimistic.
Wow.
I am actually optimistic that it's possible that in this period that there might actually be a regime change. And I imagine that as a humanitarian victory,
right,
when you're thinking about 25 million who are essentially imprisoned. I like Trump's response. He doesn't seem overly concerned. He's basically saying North Korea is China's problem. North Korea is North Korea's problem. It's not our problem yet. And people keep saying the same thing over and over again. Oh, we got a new sheriff in town. We got a new sheriff in town. I think I've even said it. We don't have a new sheriff in town. We have a new Darth Vader. It's great to be the rogue, not the reasonable for once. You know, we've had 8 years of a pop star. Now we got a Death Star. And I don't mind it because I don't mind it. I mean, we got to think about what do you get for the North Korean anniversary. Is it gold, silver, or nuclear?
But, you know, Donald Trump did tweet this morning saying, we're going to take care of this, hopefully with China's help. If not, we'll do it. We'll go it alone, and then, you know, hashtag USA. So I think he means business. Look, you drop a 21,000-pound Moab, a $16 million bomb on Afghanistan, a mile radius, and you see that maybe North Korea says, wow, you know, you can retaliate without nuclear and still do a lot of damage. So, look, I agree with you. I think what you said yesterday, Greg, was mother of all warning shots or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. But
I've been drinking since then.
Hopefully Kim Jong-un hears that.
Well, what happens when you talk all this stuff, right? It's like in the schoolyard, right? Hey, that guy, boy, he talks a lot of trash.
But again, Juan, a $16 million, 21,000-pound bomb that wipes out an area in Afghanistan.
So what happens when...
And 59 Tomahawks into Syria isn't talk. That's walking the walk. Too.
So what happens when the man John McCain describes as the fat crazy kids actually says, oh, you want to play that game? I'll one-up you. Then what? Are we responsible?
But Juan,
I know, but we're going to
with that kind of reasoning, then we should just surrender and have no defense whatsoever and never respond and just let evil prevail.
Isn't that what Morrell was saying, though? Isn't that what he said? We should stop provoking him. Don't put the Vincent in the area. Let's pull back.
And by the way, responding to belligerence is not provocation.
No.
It's responding to belligerence.
And by the way, why
wait a second. He hasn't done anything yet.
Who?
Oh, but
he hasn't fired yet. But anyway, to your point, why are we sending in...
This would be his 6th test, Juan. Where have you been?
No, we're talking about now.
We're sending in the Vincent because if we have intel that says there's a nuclear warhead on one of these missiles, not just a test to see if they can deliver it, if there's a nuke ready to go, I'm sure we'll take it out.
Well, I would hope that somebody would take it out. The question is then what happens? What are the repercussions? This is just like the decision the president had to make about the bomb, Eric. So what are the repercussions? What's the damage to the Chinese and our relationships there? What does it mean to the Japanese? What does it mean
But obviously the Trump administration has thought of that because even the president said last week in one of the interviews he did, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, that after talking to President Xi, he realized that North Korea was a much harder problem to solve. The other thing they did today is that Vice President Michael Pence goes to the region, and he's going to visit Seoul and Tokyo. He'll be in Indonesia and Australia. So he's there on a diplomatic show of strength and alliances. So I think that they have thought. I don't think we can say that McMaster and those guys at the National Security Council have not provided President Trump with
Of course, yeah, they have.
a wide array of consequences for what could happen.
And by the way, Dana, I think the United States is handling this very well. It's a very tricky situation. He's getting advice from the best people. At least we're not like, you know, turning our backs on it and saying, oh, well, we're just going to sit here and let this guy do whatever he wants and create a worse situation. We're actually tactically prepared and ready to defend if necessary. The problem is this guy's going to lose face because he said this is going to be the biggest test, et cetera, to his people. He's got to shoot off, to be perfectly honest, something. Otherwise, he's going to have, you know, lose face with them. And that his psychological profile isn't one that's going to tolerate that kind of thing where he looks like he's backing down to the United States. He's portrayed us as the enemy. But anybody that suggests that, well, the United States is the one that's the provocateur here, no, we are not. And no one should compare us whatsoever to Kim Jong-un or this, you know, North Korea.
You better watch it or we'll send Kimberly Guilfoyle over there.
There you go. The mother of all Puerto
Then you will be
Then I'm gonna,
really worried. All right.